Good evening, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started, if we will. I don't know, for those that don't know me, my name is John Lawrence, and I am the current president of the Union County Historical Society. And it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's entertainment and lecture, Brittany, aka Brit of the Museum. She's a fourth generation resident of Union County. She came to be our director in March of 2023. Her love of local history and this town of ours began back in 1988 while hiding under her grandma's desk at the public library, listening to the story of those who came before her. And I understand that it's listening to my dad and all of the others that came before me that ignited the love for history and the desire to go ahead and preserve everything that we can. So without further ado, Brittany.
Thank you, John. Hello. Nice shirt. Thank you guys all for being here. Unfortunately for you, I read a quote this afternoon that said, I'm going to paraphrase, basically, if you're speaking, you can't learn anything, but if you listen, you can learn a lot. So we're just all going to sit here and learn a lot. And nobody's going to talk, including myself. But thanks for buying tickets and coming out. We appreciate that. So a moment of silence for listening. Just playing. I did say there was going to be some terrible jokes. They're going to get worse, just so y'all know. I do have to read a couple of things. It's not an insult to you guys. I just want to make sure that I do not miss some of these key points. So bear with me when I'm looking down like this and forget that everybody's here. Usually I just set up chairs and talk to myself. So anyway, okay, here we go. Thank you all for being here tonight. It means so much to the museum to have so many guests from near and far. For the past 3 years, the Union County Historical Society has spent countless meetings plotting how to get you fine folks back through these doors. Now that you're in these doors, we've locked them, and nobody is leaving until you purchase a membership tonight. Wait, that was out loud, huh? Okay. Anyway, no pressure, but if you would like to become a member of the best museum in Clayton, New Mexico, hit me up. I will get you guys signed up. We're also doing the long-term fundraiser. It's the Herzstein Hall of Fame. So when we line up later, not yet, for our dinner, you're going to go through the hallway. You can see the tiles. They're 6 by 6 inches, $45 a tile. With that, you can put your name, your brand, a business, within reason, pretty much anything in memory of, etc. It is a great project. The top 2 rows have filled out, so we're going to start, once we survive Dino Days, we're going to build phase 2. Again, long-term project. If you want to be part of that, also, please hit us up. Tonight, we kick off year 3 of the return of Clayton Dino Days. It's been a pleasure for Lynette, I'm going to put you on the spot, myself, and our respective boards to have brought this back to our community. We appreciate all who have volunteered and shown up each year to celebrate. Without you and your excitement, this would not be possible. So thank you all. I also want to acknowledge Jackie Robinson. She's lucky she didn't have to be here tonight to get put on the spotlight. For those of you who do not know, she is the director over at the Chamber. When we were talking about Dino Days and it became more of endless chatter, hopes and dreams, but an actual plan to bring this back, they were in a transitional period. So Jackie was the, the chief cook and bottle washer at the time. So we just didn't feel right to pile more on her. The Chamber does help with this event. They hype it up. They've had a booth each year. They're well represented tonight. Thank you guys all for being here. Anyhow, so that just kind of answers some of those questions that people have asked. Okay, all of that out of the way, here we go. You're here tonight for different reasons, whether it's your love of Clayton and or this museum, Crazy Jeff's barbecue, Dino Days, or the town of Clayton and its history. Whatever the case, we're glad you're here. Myself, I'm an amateur historian, so I'm going to pretend that you guys are all here for the history. And here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, why Dino Days? It's a question we should have answered 3 years ago. It also began as a cryptic title for tonight's lecture. I just like to pretend that I get to lecture you guys. I guess in the 21st century we call it a speech or a TED Talk or whatever. A Brit Talk. Okay, so we are going to go back to the late 1880s. March 20th, 1888 was the unofficial birthday of Clayton, New Mexico Territory. We were the connecting piece in the Fort Worth to Denver rail line. The railroad liked us because they could easily offload their cattle and water them, meaning they did not have to pipe and pay for water brought up from Apache Valley. The reason they didn't have to pay for this water is a block west of us was a lake. So they built the town over the lake. The 1950s arrived and they said, man, this place is awesome. You know what we need? A lake. So they go north of town, they dam off a few creeks, and ta-da, Clayton Lake. By the 1980s, some men are fishing near the backside of the dam. One looks over and he says, hey, those look like dinosaur tracks. And his buddy, oh yeah, that's dinosaur tracks. Casts his line, continues to fish. But people are whispering about this. The ranchers, not at all. They're implementing the 3 S's. If you know what that is. Basically, if you don't know what it is, we don't talk about it. Okay, so the word is kind of whispering around. And a man from West Texas sneaks over, starts excavating chunks of the tracks off the dam spillway. That's DAM, by the way. Anyhow, he's excavating these tracks, taking them back to Texas, and nothing like an arrest to make whispers shout as loud as a T-Rex roar. Oh, that was terrible. Pound as loud as a herd of, okay, no, I'll stop. Anyway, nothing like an arrest to make the news spread like wildfire. The ranchers are not happy at all, much to the chagrin of their nature. Paleontologists find out about this, and they're like, let me go see what's happening on the DAM spillway. So one paleontologist comes out from Denver, Colorado. He's checking it out, and he's like, whoa, these are dinosaur tracks. He gets on the horn, calls all his little paleontologist friends, and they descend on Clayton like they all come to Clayton, and we loved that. It turns out that according to these men, the track site was over 100 million years old, depending on how people believe. I'm not here to sway on those kind of things, but according to the paleontologists, they said over 100 million years ago, 8 different types of dinosaurs lumbered around in our backyard. We had 4 herbivores, 3 carnivore, and 1 saltwater crocodile that all left their mark, which is kind of cool. Those tracks have been waiting for a long time, so a few more minutes will not hurt. We're going to talk about another exciting find that happened in the same time period, and that would be Clayton History Museum, which might not sound familiar to anybody in this room. That's okay. At least it probably would. So in 1986, well, let me back up. This building that you're in tonight was built in 1919. The stained glass windows, better look behind, the flooring were original. This used to be the Methodist Episcopalian Church. At some point, the Episcopalians hit the road, and it was the Methodist Church. 1960s, the mid-1960s, they built the current Methodist Church, and John Chili Chilcote, who is in a frame back there, our sailor man, he paid off the mortgage of this building so that the current Methodist Church could be built debt-free. He donated this building to the Union County Historical Society. A decade plus, the building sat vacant until a firecracker of a gal named Sue Richardson moved to Clayton from California. Sue can be represented by Terry Martin. He's gonna get on the hot seat now too. Anyhow, Sue meets D. Ray Blakely. If you knew D. Ray, that's all I need to say. But for anybody that did not, he was a giant asset for our community. He was a mover and a shaker, so knowledgeable. He still hangs around the museum today, so feel free to tell him hi. Anyhow, so these two amazing forces meet, and they are determined to make Clayton History Museum. Unfortunately, to make a museum, you need money. That's why we're always asking for assistance and kindness and love from you guys. But anyway, both of these people happen to work at the Union County Leader, and we've got the current owner of the Union County Leader with us tonight. Thank you, Terry. So these two reporters were writing articles, The Plight of the Clayton History Museum. They would publish it, they'd come back here, and they would stew and fuss and try to figure out how to get a museum going. Well, as fate would have it, Al Herzstein, that name might sound familiar, he lived here until 1930. At this time, he was headed up to Denver for vacation. He buys the newspaper, and it's like, oh, the plight of the Clayton History Museum. Let's see what that's all about. Makes a phone call, and he speaks to D. Ray, so of course he is sold instantly. He says, I'm going on vacation. On the return trip, I would like to meet with you and see this museum of yours. So they schedule a meeting. At the time, there were pews up here, so we're going to pretend like they sat right here where we're at tonight. And they discussed how to make a museum. And he said, I don't like that name. And they're like, this is Clayton. It's our history and a museum. And Al didn't laugh at that joke either. But anyway, so he buys us a roof. He donates everything that's in the Herzstein room around the corner. Same thing, check it out when you make your way through the line if you'd like. He had two stipulations for us. One, we always remain a free museum so that everybody feels welcome to visit. Two, we bear his name. So easy enough on both accounts. Of course, why am I telling you guys this other than I just want to brag on this amazing museum? Because this was all taking place in 1986 and 1987, which is the same time that the legislature did us a favor and ensured that our dinosaur tracks would be around for generations to come. The 1980s were a wild time for everybody, and our small town was no exception. April 1987 was the very first ever Clayton Dino Days, which means next year will be a very, very big and special. Who am I kidding? Every Dino Days is very, very big and special. But it will be 40 years old, which hurts to say because that came about after I did. But anyway, so the first one was quite the rebranding from the prior town and country days. Our local merchants were swept up in the excitement of the tracks. And they felt, as we still should today, that those dinosaur tracks are a good marketing tool and something we should brag about. The businesses would build buggies for outhouse races, and whatever the theme of their outhouse was, they would also dress in the same manner, and they would race that up and down Main Street. There were sand digs, dunk tanks, basketball hoop shoots that filled the parking lot behind the Eklund. The Golden Egg Scavenger Hunt, a pet project of KLMX, also happened back then, and it will be, I think the first clue should be dropping on Saturday. So that is coming back, which is pretty exciting. We also had the high school choir, which we no longer have, but at the time there was a choir and the band, and they would both perform. The Clayton players would put on a play during the week. Rabbit Ear Relays track meet happened, the Little Wrangler Rodeo, and the Rabbit Ear Volunteer Fire Department always had a fish fry, which was delicious. Let's see, the Old Western also took place during this time, and they would have a second night for the adults to dance. That's back when we had a lot of population. So why Dino Days? When I was asking myself, why Dino Days? Why do we like this? I asked other people, because I didn't want to just make this my little thing. And other people said the same thing. Community, sand digs. If you ask Lynette, she's going to say the cakewalk, which is a good time to promote that the museum will be doing a cakewalk at noon on Saturday. So you guys can thank Lynette for that. To baby Brit, Dino Days was a fever dream of funnel cakes, cotton candy, water balloon tosses, tug of war, running wild with my best friends. And unfortunately for people just casually driving down First Street, that also meant dodging cars because, you know, pack of 8-year-olds hopped up on sugar. They don't pay attention to stoplights and crossing signs. And that could be why we're calling this the Dino Days District, and we moved it over here to keep other kids safe. All right, so we went from the 1880s to the 1950s, the 1980s. So let's come back to the near past and the present day. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that we're in a 2 decades decline. Our population has dwindled, our homes and storefronts stay vacant. However, all is not lost. The Dino Days generation, yes, I did just make up that less than inventive title. We have infiltrated offices and positions where we have some power, where we can do stuff. We've learned from those who have trailblazed before us, many of you who are here tonight. So we've learned how to ask nicely and sometimes not so nicely. Usually it's nice. We have an attraction that is over 100 million years old. It's just begging us to benefit from it. All we have to do is use a little imagination, some energy, and get the word out. We can bring people to our town to shop, to stay over, to share with their friends what small town America is all about. We can win them over with our museum, our library, the volcanoes, Santa Fe Trail, Wild West history, outlaws. We have it all. We've just got to start tapping into it and showing it off. The ideas are endless. All we need is energy and notoriety. Ladies and gentlemen, the long-awaited answer to why Dino Days has been answered. The quick recap is a nod to the past, the hope that some kid from today will say in a few decades, I want my kid to have the Dino Days I had. For our merchants to get excited over the influx of foot traffic, for the family traveling from New York State that sees a big commotion, pulls over and asks Lynette and I, what is this all about? And people still live like this? We do. They said, if ever we're back in the area, we plan to come back to Clayton because it's a cute little town. That's why Dino Days. So as you go through the rest of this week, the festivities that we have planned, please think of anything you or your clubs would like to add for next year. Economic Development and Union County Historical Society, our figureheads were easily reached. However, once again, we could not do this without everyone. So we had, he didn't make it. Where are you from, if you don't mind?
Michigan, Alaska.
Okay, that's pretty far. Michigan, Alaska. Got liberal Kansas. He's Oklahoma. Goodwill, Oklahoma. We sold tickets to folks from Amarillo. I say all of that not to brag, but to highlight what I'm about to say, and that is Dino Days is no longer a school carnival on steroids. It is a street fair. It's a destination. It's a family tradition. It is the gateway to summer. And without you all, we would not have it. So thank you all for continuing to show up. Okay, I'm almost done, I promise. We have received so many compliments on how the museum looks. And usually I just say thank you. It's my muscle that helps with that, who's probably not going to speak to me for a week. So we feel, the Historical Society Board feels like we should recognize our friend, Ray Rail, for all of his help. Ray moved back to Clayton a few years ago, and he was looking for a peaceful retirement. Unfortunately, he and Kelly attended an event here at the museum, and he was like, he cornered me and said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm running a museum. And he's like, the museum is running you. If you know Ray, that would make sense. Anyway, so Ray has been super helpful in rearranging so many of our things. He'll climb ladders. I'm afraid of ladders. So he's been a huge help. And without Ray and Kelly, both of you, we could not do a lot of the things we do. So thank you both. You don't have to come up here, but you can.
You guys know this is all Brittany and Lynette. She compliments me all the time, and you know, our organization skills is dangerous. It's not me, it's these two right here that make Clayton happen, and thank you, Lynette, and thank you, Brittany.
Thank you. Okay, thank you guys for indulging me. I do appreciate you all for coming out. They're going to get the food ready in just a few minutes, so if you want to browse the museum, you're more than welcome to. Just please leave your drinks at the table. And then when we line up, we'll just come around. Professor Highbrow is our dummy back there, so she'll welcome you. We'll get in the hallway. Again, check out the Hall of Fame tiles. If you would like to become a member, let me know. And otherwise, just thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you guys.